We've been lucky, you know, the last huge storm we had was Andrew, and there wasn't much water tied into that storm. It was mostly wind, and all the devastation was caused by the wind. But for example, we have lunar perigee, which is when the moon and the earth are close together, the high tide rises an additional 6 or 12 inches above our normal high tide. And that creates storm surge in our streets. Some of our streets flood. So imagine if we had a perigee combined with a hurricane, you got to prepare for the worst case scenario.
Like Miami, Havana is at great risk from storm surges. Some residential areas of the city are even below sea level. Cuba's top meteorologist, Jose Rubiera, has seen the effects firsthand.
Yes, this is a neighborhood in Pedalo. This neighborhood has a particular character because it is one of the low-lying areas in Havana, one of the lowest. And this neighborhood gets flooded because of the sea. The sea is very near. It's only 1-2 blocks away.
For Havana, this flooding is nothing new. So because they have been coping with it for some time, the city has been making serious efforts to adapt to dealing with the danger. A long concrete wall has been built to protect the city from the sea. It runs for 5 kilometers along the entire seafront. When the sea is calm and there's a light sea breeze, it's a pleasant place to relax. But now even this barrier is being breached. In 1993, a huge hurricane swept over the city, causing $1 billion of damage. The wind created massive waves that crashed over the city's sea defenses. The wall then acted as a dam, keeping the water in the streets. After this, local residents felt the need to build their own protective walls around their homes.
So you can see the big walls there. Those big walls that surround the houses, surround the buildings, are made because of the flooding. Well, the flooding could be up to 2 meters high in some parts. Depends on the situation. But sometimes you can get 2.5 meters in the worst cases.
Recent storm surges have breached these protective walls, and areas not affected before have been damaged by the flooding.
There, you can see the stain there, right in the facade. That's the mark, the water mark of the rising water.
The oldest resident in this neighborhood is Ronaldo Tablada. He's experienced more hurricanes than anyone else. Ronaldo was raised in the countryside. When he was a child, hundreds used to die during the hurricane season. The revolution brought him to Havana, and he's lived here ever since. He was the first to build a wall around his house. The first storm surge to breach the wall was in 2005 with Hurricane Wilma.
El mal y todo, pues yo nunca he oído mental eso de Rademar en la época pasada. Y ahora mirando el mal, cada ratico se mete el mal. Yo no sé por qué.
In America, there is talk of designing buildings where the first floor or two remain unused. They will be built to be flooded. Havana's response is typically low-tech but effective. A good forecast, as much prior warning as possible, and doing whatever it takes to evacuate people, even if it means calling in the army.
Mira, nos brindan la información en primera. Después de la información, vienen aquí personalmente, casa por casa, todo el mundo, vienen los carros patrulleros y vienen con su antepalante ese, como se le dice, y ahí es donde vienen, pues entonces lo sacan de aquí a todo el mundo, lo sacan y lo llevan para albergue.
It's this organized response that seemed to be so lacking in New Orleans when it was hit by Hurricane Katrina. These shots were taken by American patrolmen trapped inside a library.
That's unbelievable, man. I got you.
They're powerless as the water rises outside.
That's Sergeant Michael Lally patrol car.
If the emergency services are caught off guard, what chance everyone else?
With Katrina, I can tell you that we issue hurricane warnings way in advance. I wrote the advisory. I issued the warnings. We told the people 5 days in advance there's a powerful hurricane. You can read the advisories. They're all, it's a public information. We were telling people you're going to lose your homes, you're going to be without houses for months and days and days. But there is certain complacency with the citizens sometimes. They say, well, it's not coming to me. And that happens in Cuba too, that happens in Mexico, and everywhere. That's the way people are.
Complacency is the main enemy. The strong state in Cuba and the highly structured nature of Cuban society make it easier for the authorities to direct the people. In America, the population is more fluid. There are new people moving to Miami, for example, all the time.
There are new kids, new generation. People move from all over the world to Miami. People move from even other parts of the United States that they don't visualize how difficult and how problematic a hurricane can be.
So it's not just governments that must be prepared for the coming storms. In many cities, people have to adapt too. Whether it's to the greater risk of flooding, more record-breaking wind speeds,
Call 911, call 911.
or even dangerous events like this. A branch blown into an overhead power cable.
Climate change is a long-term issue. Climate change adaptation needs to be part of broader discussions about what kind of society we want to have, what kind of development paths do we want to pursue. But with sort of careful planning, I think that we can reduce the damages.
I think we don't have to wait for 10 years or 15 years. I think the earth is always changing and the population is changing, and cities that didn't exist before exist now. You're building a new road and that will change. The storm surge, you're building a bridge, it changes. So we have to constantly adapt to the changes. We always have to learn more from each other to do the best job we can.
This is Fabian. I'm back up on the roof. We're hoping we get help soon.
This is Chalmette, Louisiana, August 2005. One small town in America.
Like I said, somebody over this way in one of these houses here is howling for help.
Arguments will go on about just how much we're contributing to climate change. And as they do, the sea is rising and the winds are growing.
Aunque haya huracanes, aunque haya temblores, aunque haya lo que haya, pero deben de socorrer a la gente, unirse para socorrer al ser humano. Es lo único que yo puedo decir sobre eso, porque no hay otro remedio que buscar. ¿Qué tal contra la naturaleza? La naturaleza te quiere destruir y tú tienes que construir lo que te destruye la naturaleza.
As the climate changes, cities need to adapt. Extreme weather is coming in from the oceans. Havana has a history of weathering the storm. Now many more cities need to prepare for whatever the wind will bring.
The real adaptation to a climate change environment should be done now with planning. What we are doing in the hurricane issue is adaptation. Adaptation to a problem that is a rising problem. We have more intense, strong hurricanes. So we have to adapt to it. We have to live at the same time with these hurricanes. And we can move.
In the next episode of Hot Cities, counting the cost of climate change. Shanghai, the city at the heart of China's consumer revolution. But China is also one of the worst climate change offenders. Can they change? And what will be the price if they don't?